Jurors in the Harvey Weinstein sexual assault trial in Manhattan are asking more questions as they enter the second full day of deliberations.
They've already requested evidence ranging from emails to a blueprint of the movie mogul's Soho apartment. Joining us this morning, criminal defense attorney and former sex crimes prosecutor Ambrosio Rodriguez. Good morning. Good to see you. What's your reaction to, there was this heated courtroom debate over the Newsweek op-ed that was written by Weinstein's lead attorney, and it had a direct plea for the jury to look beyond the evidence. Explain to folks who maybe aren't aware of what that's all about.
Sure. So one thing that's very important is that we as attorneys during a trial are to have no communications with the jury. We cannot, for example, lawyers will use bathrooms in different floors during bathroom breaks so we don't run into the jurors. You cannot say hello, good morning, or anything like that. And this op-ed piece by Rotuno basically said, address the jury directly. She said, I know you guys are paying attention to the media. And she basically made a second closing argument. That's kind of unheard of, and it's really inappropriate. She was admonished by the judge yesterday, and I would imagine that there will be some kind of sanctions, some kind of hearing afterwards. Let me put it this way. If the prosecutor had done the same thing, the defense would have asked for a mistrial and would have gotten that granted.
It's always dangerous to speculate about what jurors are thinking and where they are, but we're going to ask you to do it. First hours of deliberation yesterday, the jury asked about the private investigators that Weinstein used to so-called red flag women that he wanted to investigate. What do you think that's about? Well,
Part of the theory of the prosecution is that the women didn't come forward and they did not and they kind of maintain a relationship after the alleged sexual assault was because of the power that Weinstein had. That is, they were kind of trapped in this Hollywood star system that they maintained this relationship. So I think, I'm speculating that that might be part of it, that the kind of the discussions are, well, why did they maintain a relationship? And the answer to that is, well, they couldn't help it. That is, they had to in order to have some kind of success. So I think it went to that.
The jury also sent questions asking if there were any standalone charges in the case of actress Annabella Sciorra. She testified about her alleged rape by Weinstein in 1993. What could be significant about that?
I thought that was a really big deal because the juror's question, in my mind, was why wasn't she a charged victim? That is, why weren't there criminal counts against her? And again, I'm speculating, but it feels to me, or I think that that has a lot to do with, there must be jurors who think that she should have been a charged victim. That is, the allegations against, the allegations that she made should have been charged as a crime. That's bad news for the defense.
The DA didn't call any police detectives, is that right?
That's correct, and that's rare. And there were issues with what the police did. So the DA made a decision to not call the police officers in order not to make an issue of the problems with the investigation and some of the misconduct that occurred. The defense made an issue of that, but one of the retorts that the DA made was they could have called them as witnesses themselves. And they do that. It's kind of difficult with the defense. When you make the argument that, hey, why didn't they call this witness? The DA will always come back and say they have the power of subpoena as well. Why didn't they call them if they thought they were so important?
So in your experience, is that just typically a wash with the jurors?
Yes.
Okay.
There's been some talk about Weinstein possibly being acquitted, and it apparently centers on this tearful testimony of an aspiring actress by the name of Jessica Mann. She says she was pushed into a sexual relationship with Weinstein. She was much younger than he, and then she continued to interact with him for 5 years. Why? Tell us more about that and why that's...
I followed her testimony, and I actually thought her testimony was one of the most damning things against him. And I understand that she kept the relationship, but she went on and gave graphic details about his body. And she testified that she felt sorry for him and that she said that in her mind, his kind of sexual violence came from a place of hurt. And that's really important and powerful because in a case like this, the prosecution has to give the jury a reason why a man this powerful, this rich, who could have a lot of women who would be willing participants because of his power, right? Why would he do this? And she gave the jury that. So we don't know what's going to happen. Jurors do what they do. But I thought that I mean, I know a lot of people saw it as her being problematic. I thought she was very powerful.
6 women testified. Harvey Weinstein did not. It's always a case, as you know, as a lawyer, whether or not to put the defendant on the stand. He didn't. Will that hurt or help?
Yeah, I think it will. Look, I think there's kind of an old school and new school about having the defendant testify. Old school is you never put him on. New school is you always have him testify. I'm partial to the new school, especially in a situation where someone has no criminal record. This is an articulate, wealthy man who made his living, built an empire out of talking, right? I mean, he started from the bottom, and there is a lot of hustle that goes on in Hollywood. He should be able to talk his way out of this. I'm really surprised that they did not put him on the stand. I think that it is something that is going to, and look, the jury's told not to consider it, that you have the right to remain silent, that you can't even use that, you can't even talk about it during the deliberations, that a defendant doesn't testify. But the reality is that jurors want to hear that you didn't do it to explain yourself, especially when you have 6 women. I mean, that is what makes this case, with whatever problems and issues that there are, you're still talking about 6 women coming in and saying, this is what he did to me.
Yeah. Ambrosio, thank you. Ambrosio Rodriguez, criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor. You can check out his website and also follow him on Twitter.